Yeah, so I have a deep, appreciation and understanding of the significance and importance of education in not only benefiting or bettering our own lives, but bettering the lives of I think our families and our communities. I got here with having really good support from my family and family and friends, and I think that there are those in tribal communities who may not have that support system, unfortunately. And so, we hope to help play a role to help better, improve their opportunities and better their lives. I got to this point specifically by, um, I'm the first member of my family to earn a college degree and to earn some advanced degrees beyond that. And I think it's important to leverage the opportunities that I've had and the connections that I've been able to make to serve those around me. Yeah, so it's interesting. I've never really had, I think, a defined career, or I didn't growing up, a defined career path for really what I wanted to do, and it was kind of through just hard work, going to school, capitalizing on some opportunities that came around, and then eventually really having a passion to become, an attorney for my tribe. I'm an enrolled member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe that's in North and South Dakota. And that was obviously after I graduated college. And so that's kind of when I decided to get into law. And it was during that time when I was able to eventually get a job in Washington, D.C., working at a law firm that specifically represented tribal interests and tribal organization interests. We never represented the parties who were going against tribal governments or organizations. It was always leveraging our expertise for the tribes. And on the journey to get there, I think I had a lot of really good inspirational people and mentors and people willing to guide me to help, eventually reach the career goals that I wanted to reach, and to be able to help the people that I wanted to help. And so I don't know so much that it's my personal journey. I think, it takes a village to raise somebody. And I think that's specifically true in my life. There were a lot of influential people who helped get me to where I was. When I was at my first year of law school in the summer, I went to work for my tribe, and there was a tribal member who was the in-house attorney who unfortunately ended up passing away very early on from cancer. But he kind of went out of his way to ensure that he set up that one, my first year internship with the tribe, and to make sure everything got going. And it was really because of that I was able to make some connections and ultimately end up in Washington, D.C. and then really, growing a really large network of individuals by representing tribal governments and organizations. I did that in federal, state, tribal courts, but also was able to serve as an advocate for these organizations before Congress and before the administration to really meet a lot of influential people in Washington who help deal with the budgets and the planning and the overall programming of Indian affairs, and particularly in education. And then to keep those connections and friendships going beyond just working at the law firm, and to really have friendships that have blossomed and to help serve us in our current role with the Wakiya Foundation to help benefit these tribal communities. Yeah, so I think I draw my inspiration from two sources. I love it when I'm able to. So I live in Virginia now, just outside of Washington, D.C. I have a family of my own now, so one of my main sources of inspiration is my own kids. I think seeing the how education is benefiting them in their lives now, and seeing the hope and the brightness that they have for their future, and wanting to work my best to be able to help them achieve their goals, which at their stage that they're in now are limitless goals, and I think that's always a good reminder to kind of have that childlike mentality of really anything's possible at that stage in life, and it's a huge inspiration for me to see that. It's equally inspirational, when I go to tribal communities. I'm able to serve in various roles that help take me back to tribal communities, my own in particular. To see the youth there and how they're doing their best with the resources that they have and the resources that their schools and tribal governments have to help them in their educational journeys. And so that's kind of the first one is our younger generation. The second, I think, real significant source of inspiration has really kind of hit home in working on, with the Wakiya Foundation, and specifically with Ascendium, with the grant project that we're doing, is working with the individuals, the tribal members, the non-tribal members, those who are on the ground in these communities, who it really is their life passion to better their communities, and they're so overworked and underfunded, and still being able to do the work that they do is really inspirational. I knew, with my background here in Washington, D.C., and working, especially doing a lot of, working with budgets and the appropriations process with Congress and the administration for how tribal programs are funded. I knew before we started the Wakiya Foundation that this is one reason why I wanted to have this foundation, was to help serve these, underfunded communities. I think their relationship with the United States is obviously different. They're based off of treaties, executive orders, congressional acts that were, passed, up to 200 years ago, if not more in some instances, and some more recently. But promises that the federal government made to them for these tribes to make concessions of their own, and then to see that that the tribes really aren't receiving the fullness of those treaty promises. And the result is, at times struggling education systems, due to underfunding, remoteness, of some of these tribal communities, where it just, it's just a fact that makes it harder to bring in, I don't want to say high talent, because they do have very highly talented individuals who are there, but I think it's harder to draw individuals to come work in those communities when they're not necessarily from there, because some of them are, in the not close to major cities or other places. So seeing those individuals who are committed to their communities and are literal miracle workers on the ground, it's highly inspirational to see that, and it's a motivating factor for all of us here at the Wakiya Foundation. We have individuals here at the foundation who we have the former governor of Montana working with us, Steve Bullock. We have high members from the Obama administration and other presidential administrations working here, trying to make a difference. And I think we all draw inspiration from seeing those on the ground who are there day in and day out doing the best that they can. I mean, I just want to highlight I think the real life struggles that education has been, kind of a tragic history in Indian communities, dating back to policies of having boarding schools that Indian children were, some went there voluntarily, some didn't go to these boarding schools voluntarily. And there's a very real tragic, result of many of the experiences at these boarding schools. My grandma, Serena Eagleboy, went to a boarding school in South Dakota, and I think anybody who pays attention to the news or kind of this issue understands some of the traumatic experiences that many of these young, and in many instances these were elementary school to junior high age kids who were going to these boarding schools being taken away from their parents and really having, not really knowing anybody who was there. And some of them had, horrific experiences. My grandma herself, she would never talk about the time that she spent at her boarding school. And there are hundreds and thousands of other Native youth who were like that. There were, some stories broke recently that, some mass graves that were found at some of these boarding schools, that, some kids never made it home. And so I think part of our goal, we're driven to ensure that Native youth, particularly, working with Ascendium, those who have managed to move on and pursue a post-secondary education can work, be inspired by their ancestors and by those around them, and feel the support of their communities, and hopefully our organization to help them realize their full potential, and then in turn go back and help their communities to do the same, and community members. So